The January 10th, 2018 meeting of the Municipal Court Enforcement Board is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is charged with conducting hearings to determine whether an alleged violation of the city code has occurred. Decisions made by the quasi-judicial board will be based on evidence and facts presented here tonight. Our meetings are conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, and each case will begin with the city presenting its evidence of the alleged violation. The respondents will then present his or her case. Both parties will have an opportunity to cross-examine all witnesses, and the board members may question any witness. Comments by both parties must be relevant to the case. Persons wishing to speak will be given an opportunity to do so by the chair and must address the board from the podium after giving their name and address. Upon request, copies of materials submitted by the staff are available for review. Board members are reminded to obtain permission to speak from the chair, and questions of the city should be directed to the attorney for the city. At this time, I will ask all persons who expect to give testimony tonight to stand and be sworn in by the Deputy City Clerk.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony or evidence you're about to give or present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Cases will be taken out of order, and to accommodate respondents and witnesses present at the meeting tonight. Case number 1 is going to be case 172748. Case number 2 is going to be 172826. Case number 3 is going to be 172994. And case number 4 will be 172197. Okay, the first order of business is going to be.
And case number 5 was 2646.
Yes, and then there's one left, so. So the first order of business, I'm sorry, is going to be the approval of the minutes for the December 13th, 2017 meeting. Have all board members received the minutes? And are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? There being none, accept a motion. Motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion that the minutes be approved as sent.
And I'll second that.
Approved by Mr. Doug,
Well, I made the motion,
yeah,
seconded by Mr. Newberg.
okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Okay, first case.
Case number 172748, City versus Thrasher Investments LLC for property located at 108 Holland Avenue. The case is before the board based on the alleged violation of Section 8, 102.13H, windows and exterior doors maintained in good repair. Section 8, 102.13C, roofs duty to maintain. Section 10, 4B, 4A, nuisance buildings, 90 days, and Section 8 to 102.13M, accessory structure maintained in good repair. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Officer Buckland. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Thank you. Good evening. Stephen Buckland with Code Enforcement. This case originally started back in November 1st for myself, although the building itself has been the focus of numerous citizen complaints over in that area prior to this, with some open building permits that were current at that point. During my initial inspection, the following conditions were observed. There were multiple windows missing, a garage door completely missing from the door frame. The roof was in such disrepair that light could be seen through the gaps in the roofing sheathing. The metal fascia and soffit continued to hang off the roof edge. The accessory structure on the west side of the residence was deteriorating and the roof was falling in. Overgrown grass and weeds were observed throughout the entire yard, and the property had been in this state of partial demolition since before August 14th, when I started working here in code enforcement, and no substantial construction has been accomplished since, well outside the 90-day limitation. Door hanger was issued with a compliance date of November 14th. We held a meeting on November 1st with the building inspector, Code Director Tom Baroni, and the contractor for the property at the time, Ed Hinton of Hinton Construction. Mr. Hinton was asked to provide an updated set of drawings because the drawings that he had provided initially for the permits that he had open did not cover the scope of repairs that needed to be accomplished inside that building. So we needed a new set of plans submitted for that. He was also asked to secure the property for the safety of anybody that was in the area in case the kids decided they wanted to go exploring. I felt that it was a safety concern, and also to properly maintain the front and backyard. When back out on November 21st, there was no change in the condition of the structure, and therefore that's when the notice of violation was issued with a compliance date of December 11th, 2017. The home was obviously unoccupied, so I posted the notice on the front door at the building, as well as requested that a copy be posted at City Hall, and requested that copies, both certified and regular mail, be sent to the listed registered agent. Since that time, the structure has been secured and the yard has been maintained. New plans have been submitted for the building inspector for review, but have not been approved as of this point. I would like to submit some photographic evidence at this time.
The board will accept.
You have three photos, or actually 4 photos. Exhibit 1 is a view of the front. Well, see if you look at what's up on the screen right now. There it goes. That is the view of the front side of the house now that the windows and doors have been boarded up on that side. Second one, this is a view of the east side of the house, and actually that middle window now has a hole in it. This shows the metal fascia and the damage to the soffit on the roof. And the fourth one is the accessory structure that has the roof falling in. And at this point, like I said, the building itself is still not had any forward movement on the repairs and therefore is still out of compliance. At this point, we would have the building inspector, Amira Anisi. Would you come on up? You can explain on the permitting process.
Good evening, I'm Municipal building official. The updated status, the permit we issued back in May of 2017 became expired on November 20th. And we had a meeting with the code enforcement staff, with the contractor, informed the contractor the original permit basically is not covering the scope of a work they are working out there. They have to submit a revised plan. And he submitted a revised plan. I did the plan review on the revised plan, and I rejected it back to him with the plan review comment. As we are speaking, I have not received the complete revised plan yet. So we have expired permit on the site, and we haven't had any inspections since May of official inspection, of course. I've visited the site many times, but we haven't had any official inspection requested by the contractor on the work they performed. As I said, he promised he's going to come back, but the scope of work substantially has changed from the original application, and to my assessment is substantial improvement, is more than 50% of the value of the structure he's going through, so he has to provide complete plan package for us to review it, such as electrical, mechanical, plumbing, for us to be able to review it and issue a permit. So, as I said, we have expired permit, and that permit basically will be null and void because, again, he indicated on the original application 64 square foot of replacing bearing walls, and that doesn't add up what he's doing out there. So we have a couple other permits such as roof and mechanical, but of course the structure has to be built first, has to pass inspection in order to get to the sub permits such as mechanical, electrical, plumbings, and what have you. So that's the update I have on the building site. So.
And they, initially, when they got their permit, they had plans that were
Well,
reviewed for what they had told you?
Well, I mean, the application and the plan they provided was very vague, didn't have much of a detailed information, and the application date going back on May 8th of 2017. It says interior reno, low bearing wall, 64 square foot. But, I mean, if you walk in the building right now, I mean, 80% of the building is under construction. Facing to the house from the street, the right-hand side is made out of concrete block, and 80% of the structure is wood frame home. And they did replace 30, 40 roof rafter. Most of the exterior wall has been replaced. Basically, it's just gutted the whole house. So that has to be visited. They have to provide a substantial, detailed information on the print for us to assess what they're doing and review it. And in conjunction to that, they have to provide additional information, as I said, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, for us to be able to review it, because it's a substantial improvement.
All right. Are there any other questions of Mr. Nisi? There being none? You,
You said, or maybe Officer Buckland said that the roof had holes in it, or is that covered now? Is it not, or is water still protruding through?
There's a tarp over it. But it's not plywood sheathing. It's wood slats, so you can,
Put your fingers.
Right, how the case originated, they had a hole in the roof, okay, and then code enforcement, of course, initiate the case. So a number of the roof rafter has to be replaced, they're rotted, they're damaged, in order to be able to secure the roof first, sheet it, and then, of course, put the membrane on top of it. But structurally, they are not there yet. I mean, they did work, but they stopped.
Is the
Yeah.
interior still intact, or has that all been removed?
It's all been removed. You don't have any partition wall, you have just only exterior perimeter walls, okay? So, again, they started the construction and they stopped, and construction became almost to halt, so.
thank you. Mr., do you have further questions from Mr. Buckland? Okay. There is a representative here.
Yes. Good evening. Matthew Castle on behalf of Thrasher Investments LLC, Castle Law Group, PLLC, 4016 Henderson Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. As we've already heard, there was a roof issue. My client had a roofer engaged who was supposedly trying to repair that issue, but as some of us,
Can I ask you,
yes,
are you an attorney or are you an architect?
I'm an attorney.
Okay.
Unfortunately, as some of us may know, hiring contractors doesn't go flawlessly all the time. This contractor did not show up. They had some issues with him, and he didn't get that roof issue resolved. Right now, my client is trying to get this all wrapped up. They do plan on finishing the renovations. They've engaged an engineer. The engineer should have all of the plans back for the HVAC, for the mechanic, for everything involved with this project, and then they will submit those plans back to the city. So right now, we're just needing more time, and so I would ask the board for a continuance of this matter for 60 days so we can get those engineering drawings back and submit them to the city, and I think that they should be approved, and then construction can resume.
So you have a structural engineer and an architect, because you got walls and windows and exterior walls and windows and structural members being replaced.
My understanding is yes.
Normally what we do is we go for 30 days
Okay.
and then you can come and report your progress.
Okay.
And hopefully it's well on its way, but
I think everybody will benefit from a beautiful house in the neighborhood, and my clients definitely intend on doing that, so I think it'll be a great result.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Buckland, do you have anything to add?
that's all, it's just a revisit on 30 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Jim Butine, 516 Hibiscus Drive. It really pains me when I walk past that property because I remember when the original owners took such good care of it. After they passed, it fell into disrepair, and the yard was not taken care of. And during that period of time, a neighbor was mowing the yard and trimming the bushes because, as she said, I have to look at this mess every day. We were excited as a neighborhood when we saw work being done on it and hoped this eyesore would disappear. When the current owner's workers were working on the property, they would leave the windows and garage door open when they would leave the property. I did complain that this was dangerous, as the inside of the house was not safe, with a hole in the roof. But more importantly, there are many children in the neighborhood, and we all know how curious that they can be. That was an accident waiting to happen. We definitely feel that ultimately, it's the owner's responsibility, but if it's the contractors that were leaving it wide open, still it's ultimately the owner's responsibility to make sure that property is secure. In some ways, it almost looks worse now than prior to their starting of construction, with, I do understand securing it at the city's request. The tarp is still there. It's very obvious that it's an empty home. Immediate neighbors have to look at it every day. I see it every day because I walk by it every day. The biggest concern is how much longer will citations be given, will fines accrue, and nothing will get done, and it falls into more disrepair. I am encouraged by the gentleman's comments this evening. That does give us some hope. The bottom line for us is, and some of you board members and Director Baroni know, we as a neighborhood have been fighting for over a year, keeping negative elements out of our neighborhood. And it's been a long haul. Having a house looking like it does in our neighborhood certainly is not helping our fight. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Do you want to finish, wrap it up?
I think in this case that we all certainly want to see the construction being finished. I think what we need to do is we need to have a timeline set for, we can say, to get an update the next 30 days, we need to have at least some benchmark that they need to obtain before that 30 days. You know, I would like to see at bare minimum a set of plans approved and the permits pulled at a very minimum to show that there is some movement, and then to see what contractors listed, and that would also include when you talk about the electrical and the mechanical, needs to be indicated also, so that we know that there's subcontractors that have been lined up to start moving forward with this, because that's the biggest thing is that this neighborhood has been dealing with, is having to see this house every time they drive down the street, and we really need to see some forward movement on that.
I agree with that sentiment also, but I would like definitely to push on the architectural side of it, because the architectural work has to be done prior to the mechanical and plumbing being done. And those permits, like Mr. Anisi had mentioned, that can follow as long as they're being progressed with. But if the sooner we get the architectural plan signed off, usually it's all together.
Right, well, that's what you're saying,
But-
with the substantial amount that needs to be done, they usually end up coming all through at the same time. So as long as we have a name attached to it,
Right.
we just want to see that part of the plan has been, so we know that it's going to be
Exactly.
moving forward.
So we just, because in order to get it, closing it up is the main item here, the looks of it, the windows, the doors, the walls that are down, what have you. That, if, once they get it closed up, it's not, they can lock it up and leave. But if there are no walls, you can't really lock it up. So I would progress with the architectural as fast as you can and get the plumbing and electrical assigned, so you have an engineer working on it. And if we get a name of an engineering firm, I think that would go a long ways to what you're saying in 30 days.
Did your client provide you with a possible timeline at all?
They told me that they were supposed to, or hoping to, have plans back from the engineer next week. And that includes all of the HVAC that's in total, so that's everything.
Then it would be reasonable to expect that we should be able to have some permits pulled before the next meeting,
That would be
within
good.
the 30-day mark.
I assume if everything's approved, once they send those in, then I don't see any reason why, they wouldn't be able to move things along this month.
And you'll have a well, you have a contractor assigned. You have a contractor under contract?
I don't know the answer to that.
He's getting on the record. I don't know if he's close enough to the microphone or down the record.
I'm sorry.
Just from procedural.
I do believe that they have a contractor lined up at this point for the remaining work.
Can you let the city know?
Yes.
Can you confirm that? I would like to have that confirmation as soon as you can get it,
Okay.
so we know that we're not just, we've had a case that's been going on for a long, 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 long time.
Right,
And finally, it's made some progress,
right,
some positive progress.
right.
So everything up to this point has been kind of diminishing returns. So we just can't do that one again.
Yeah,
So-
and I think that everybody is kind of on the same page here. I mean, my clients want to sell the property, obviously, it's what their business is. The contractors want to get the work, and everybody wants the neighborhood to be looking beautiful. So I think everybody is on board here.
Thank you. Mr. Lloyd?
No, that was it. I just wanted to
Okay,
make sure we could get him on that.
thank you. Anyone else with a question? Mr. Stats?
So the contractor that pulled the original permit is not the same contractor you guys are retaining for the new project?
He is still going to be the general contractor, but he does sub out some of his work. And so what happened with the roof was that he subbed that part out, and the roofer dragged his feet for 3 months. And so that created a little bit of an issue as far as timing is concerned. But I know that he is working diligently to get the plans back from the engineer and submit it to the city and get everything worked out.
And the only reason why I asked that is my biggest question on this is he, according to the building department, he pulled a permit for 64 square feet of remodel addition. Any contractor that would have walked in that house would have known way more. That's why I'm worrying about this 30-day timeline of if it's attainable or not.
Right.
That's why I'm asking that question, if it's the same contractor or not, so.
Well, I'm hoping at least there will be some progress, at least in the 30 days, they'll be able to get the plans in and make some moves on that. And so I will tell them that they need to, put some pep in their step.
Any other questions? Oh, Mr. Nisi?
Sorry.
What I would like is this, issuing a permit is one issue, but making a progress is a issue, okay? We gave him the permit back on May of 2017. For 9 months, not much happened. So even now, they submit the plan next week, I review it, I approve it, I give them a permit, and they sit idle. It's not gonna be benefiting anybody. So the contractor, original contractor, or whoever is gonna continue on, has not made any progress, as far as the amount of work over 8 months. And then we had a meeting back on November with him, with the code enforcement staff, and then take him a month to come back again, submit a revised plan. So it looks like, again, I don't know, the full story, what is happening behind the scene, but looks like he's not motivated to move the construction forward.
You just made a comment,
Yes.
November, so you already knew that the contractor wasn't, well, the permit was expiring?
Yeah, permit became expire on 11/20th, November 20th. And we had meeting with the contractor, with the code enforcement staff, director, other staff member, and we sat down around table, we explained everything to him. We told him, I told him that, listen, the original permit is null and void because it doesn't cover the scope of the work you're doing in here, and then you need to, submit the revision, and I have to issue pretty much brand-new permit for you, but you haven't made any progress. You're sitting idle. You're not moving, so.
All right, so now it's already been 2 months, basically.
Yes. Even, again, I'd be happy to help. We are here to help him, but we need some form of a commitment from him.
Right.
We issue a permit, what's the next step? Are you going to take for years to complete these projects? What's the completion date? What's the schedule, construction schedule? I know, subcontractors, sometimes they don't respond and then drag their feet, but primarily, the general contractor is responsible to perform. If somebody doesn't show up, get somebody else, sign somebody else.
Yeah,
You
9
got
months.
electrical work, you got mechanical work, you got plumbing work, you got roof works, so that's That's a concern I have. Are we getting some form of a commitment from investment company, from contractor to move this, project forward? Because neighbor is getting fed up. I get a number of calls throughout the weeks. They, concerned about safety, they're concerned about the looks of the house. So
9 months would lead you to wonder if there is anything good going to happen.
right.
But with, hopefully in the 2 months, how long have you been involved?
2 days.
2 days, so you can't answer for 2 months, so, okay.
Yep.
All right. Another question for Amir?
Would you say the site is safe now, from the city standpoint?
Not 100%.
Okay.
We just close up the openings, but completely no, it's not safe.
And what would you say they needed to do?
Chain link fence around the site. Put a chain link fence and just isolate it from public access.
So you said that city did the boarding up?
No,
Or they
the
did?
contractor did,
Contractor.
after numerous requests,
Thank you.
yes.
Mr. Attorney,
Question for Mr.
Mr. Castle,
Yes.
is the owner local?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Lloyd?
Just had a question actually for Mr. Anisi. Piggybacking on board member Stats' comments, and by the way, I apologize for being late. If it's a safety issue, what would it cost to have the fence? Could you estimate to have that put up, and would the city be able to do that? And then, because with the statute, we could, if it's a health safety issue, go out there and put the fence around it.
Sure.
What would that cost the city?
I don't know, I have to get a code for you.
Okay.
But you could rent a fence, you could have somebody come and install it, so.
And that would be satisfactory for securing the property for now?
Absolutely. Secure
Okay.
the site, construction site. We have to isolate the, construction site from the public access, yes.
And that work could be done prior to the plans and the permit?
Absolutely.
And it's a construction fence, so there's no permit required for the construction fence, or is that?
No. That's a temporary, that's part of the construction requirement, you can secure your construction site, so you don't need a permit for that.
So that would be a good commitment to make as soon as possible.
First step, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? There being none, ask for a motion. Anyone?
I'll make a motion, but I'll probably have questions to my own motion once I've made it.
If we get a second, we'll get some debate.
Okay. Based on the testimony of Code Compliance Officer Steve Buckland, City of Temple Terrace Engineer Amir Anisi, and Attorney Matthew Castle, presented to the board at this hearing, and the documentary evidence received by the board, and make a motion that the board find Thrasher Investments LLC in case number 17-2748 to be guilty of violating sections 8-10213H, 8-10213C, 10-4B4A, 8-10213M, and give the respondents until Valentine's Day, February 14th, to come into compliance with the code sections in questions, as well as have the plans in review stage, a contractor selected, a construction schedule completed, and a show of completion date by August the 1st. If the property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $400 per day shall begin to accrue on the day following compliance date. and continue to accrue until the date that the violator provides the city with evidence that the property has been brought into compliance.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is it 250 the max we can do, or can we do 250 per violation? I think it's 250 max.
That's why I put it in the discussion.
Yeah, instead of the 400. And I don't know if we can, I guess we could stipulate August, the second component, but
Yeah, I wasn't even sure if you had the ability to do
I would.
We can't.
I don't think we can. I think we can say that, I can tell you this, if we do make a motion and it's within 30 days, there better be some significant progress made, or I'm not going to vote to extend it.
Right.
The fine's going to start accruing, I can tell you that. I mean, the fence could go up within a week. So they'll have 30 days, in my eyes, to get that done, and at least show some good faith.
I agree. The amount needs to come down, but also I think the stipulation, the date stipulation we can't do, so we have to take that out. And I think some of the other items, you might want to roll them back as to being, we need the progress. And by virtue of the permit, that progress has to be achieved in order to get the permit and get things going. But to put an August date on it is, even that, to have the whole building completed. I'm hoping you're not saying August for getting all this paperwork completed.
No, that's the final.
Yeah, okay. We can't do that.
That's one of the things I was gonna question about my own motion, but I figured I'd throw everything out there and see where we could go, instead of bringing it up piecemeal afterwards.
The only thing I would add into it, and again, this is probably a separate item, is the fence. And I would put a shorter term on that, like Mr. Lloyd claimed.
Sooner, it
I
could be
mean,
less.
you could put a fence up in a few days. Like the building department said, you can call a company, they'd come out, rent it, and do whatever you need to do, just to secure the property. That's my biggest concern is somebody gets on there, gets hurt, now we got a bigger
Yeah.
issue.
I mean, you do it for parades, you do it for events. There's plenty of companies out there that can get it done quickly. So, and I think that's, to the testimony of Mr. Time, let's hold somebody accountable and show some progress here.
Any other questions? We have a motion and do you want to change your motion?
Sure. Based on the testimony of Code Compliance Officer Steve Buckland, Amir Anisi with the City of Temple Terrace, and Matthew Castle, presented to the board at this hearing and the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Thrasher Investments LLC in case number 17-2748 to be guilty of violating sections 8-102, subsection 13, subsection H, 8-102, 13, subsection C, 10-4, subsection B, subsection 4, subsection A, 8-102, 13 subsection M, and of the city code, and give the respondents until February 14th to come into compliance with the code sections in questions, and also to have a perimeter fence installed for safety issues within 10 days. And if the property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $250 per day shall begin to accrue on the day following the compliance date and continue to accrue until the date that the violator provides the city with evidence that the property has been brought into compliance.
Second.
Mr. Allen motions, Mr. Stats second. All in favor? Aye. Well, we didn't have any discussion, but
I guess you got it right that time.
next case. You, Mr. Castle, you are aware of what just came down?
Yes. I've got it down, if you guys want the fence in 10
As
days,
soon as possible.
bring it into compliance within 30. Also,
Right.
they're gonna obviously submit all the paperwork.
Right, that's critical,
Good
yes.
faith.
All right.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you.
Second case will be case number 172826, City versus Kenneth Donaldson and Anthony Ellis for property located at 7709 Glades Court. The case is before the board based on an alleged violation of Section 828A1 permits, application required. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Officer Silva. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Good evening, board members. Jose Silva, Co-Compliance Officer. This case proactively generated on October 27, 2017. My inspection revealed a new fence installed at the residence. I notified community development and a stop order was issued. On November 6, I was notified by community development and no permit was obtained after the posting of the stop work order at the residence. I responded to the residence and issued a door hanger with a compliance date of November 20th, 2017. An inspection on November 2017 revealed that no permit was pulled for the fence installation, so I issued a notice of violation with a compliance date of November 30th. The home was vacant, so I posted the notice at the home as well as City Hall, and also mailed copies both certified and regular mail to the address. As of this date, no permit has been obtained for the fence install at the residence. This time, I would like to submit a copy of a screenshot showing of the stop work order that no fence was permitted.
Board will accept.
Also, our building inspector is here if you have any questions for him. As of today, there's no permit still pulled for that residence.
Mr. Stats?
Have you had any contact with the owners?
No, sir. The residence is vacant. Orange River Estates filed a lien on the house for failure to pay their association fees also, so it's like a list pending.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Nisi, do you want to address this now, or do you want to wait until after the person that's here to speak speaks? Okay, please come up. Name and address.
Evening, Anthony Ellis, 8730 North Himes Avenue. I'm part owner of the property. I didn't get a permit for the fence because I was replacing a damaged fence. The fence had failed. So I took it down and I replaced it. I didn't realize I needed a permit to replace something that was already there.
Do you have photographs of the picture of the fence that was there?
No. It was falling down. I just had it hauled away.
Is the fence in exactly the same place that the
Well,
old fence
Except it's
was?
standing now.
Pardon?
Except that it's
Except it's
standing now. But the neighboring properties, their fences are falling down and, everything, so mine was starting to fall, so I just had it hauled away, and a couple of weeks later, I had it replaced. And the time that the first notice was hung on the door, I was hospitalized from November 4th until the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And then when I came back, I saw the second notice, and I figured I might as well come to the hearing, so.
That's a good idea. You owned all the fence on the property? Your neighbors didn't own any of it, or you just?
Well, I own the back part of it, and my neighbors on each side had their fence. Since I put the new fence, I replaced the back, and I put a fence on the side where my neighbor was, but since his is falling down also. So the one on my left, his fence is in good working order, so I just left that there.
Is this fence a privacy fence?
Yes,
Wood?
yes.
does the fence, well, that doesn't matter. Any other questions? Mr. Stats?
Do you have a survey of the property?
No, I do not.
Okay, the only reason why I ask is because they're gonna require it for
Understand.
the
I
permit.
understand that there's an easeway in between the back of my fence and then the neighbors in my back. It has to be an easeway there. So, I mean, I left the easeway and everything. I put a gate for access. So
And-
I just tried to make it better.
And do you also have to have approval from Orange River, HOA?
I don't know. Like I said, I replaced the fence, or an existing fence, so I didn't realize I needed permission to fix something.
You need to go to them, find out what their requirements are as well as ours. You will, if you are the owner of the property,
Yes.
you should have a survey of the property when you bought it.
Yes, I can
And
get
it should
one,
be
yes.
on record. So you need to provide that to the city to get the permit, and probably for the permit through Orange River Estates.
Okay, and like I said, the biggest question was, I didn't realize I needed a permit to repair or replace something that already existed.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Any question?
Yes, sir, you said you replaced the fence on the sides, it was your neighbor's fences. So you really don't know from what you've told me now whether that fence you replaced on the sides was
I
on your
left-
property or their property?
I'm
You have
on
no
my
survey?
property, their fence is still there, although it's dilapidated. I put my fence inside.
All right, 'cause I heard you say that you carried everything away, so I was just thinking that was included.
Yes. No, I didn't
Just-
I didn't
just-
touch anyone else's fence. Falling or otherwise, I left it there.
That being the case, what you put on your property, there was new stuff, that's why you need your permit.
Okay, well,
Well, the survey is to verify where the property lines are. Mr. Nisi, can you add to that to help him along?
Sure, absolutely. Permit is required for fence replacement. And again, I don't know if he could have called us, we would inform him, but we haven't received any, request. He's required to come to, building department, apply for permits, and he has to provide the copy of the land survey and also sign off from the Orange River Estate Association, because they have a little bit different requirement than we do. So he has to reach out with them first and see what exactly they're looking for on top of it. Once he has the approval from them, come to building department, we'd be happy to help him, but he's required to get a permit, so.
Okay, the resolve of this case would be that he can obviously get the survey and get the permit, or he can take the fence down
Absolutely, that's his discretion, that's his choice.
to come
If
into
that's-
compliance.
Yes, if he likes to take the fence down, yes.
Any other questions? Thank you. Do you have anything you want to add, Mr. Ellis? Okay. Okay, there being no other persons present to speak, call for a motion. Mr. Allen?
Based on the testimony of Code Compliance Officer Jose Silva, Anthony Ellis, and Emir Nisi with the City of Temple Terrace presented to the board at this hearing, and the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Kenneth A. Donaldson and Anthony A. Ellis in case number 17-2826 to be guilty of violating section 8-28-A-1 of the city code, and give the respondents until February 14th to come into compliance with the code sections in question. If the property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $25 per day shall begin to accrue on the day following compliance and continue to accrue until the date that the violator provides the city with evidence that the property has been brought into compliance.
I have a second by Mr. Newkirk. Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No nays. Mr. Ellis, what you've just, the case has just been given, and you have 30 days to get your permit or take your fence down. And that means supplying your survey and going to the city hall to get your permit.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next case.
Case number 172294, City versus Premier Holdings and Management Group for property located at 12703 North 53rd Street. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of Section 6.3 animal disturbance. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Officer Buckland. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Yeah, Steve Buckland with Code Enforcement. This case originated via a citizen complaint back on November 21st by myself is when we started the actual process through our system. This property in question is a rental property. I received a copy of the Temple Terrace Police Department Animal Nuisance Form back on November 20th, indicating that there was dogs running loose and a continued problem of barking dogs coming from the address in question here. I issued a notice of violation on December 4th with an inspection date of December 11th. I posted a notice at the front door of the residence and requested a copy be posted at City Hall and have copies mailed, both certified and regular mail, to the listed owner. In addition to that, I went ahead and I parked in the area on several occasions. There was a construction site that is north of that, there's about 2 houses north of that, the event location. On December 6th, I parked there from approximately 8:40 to 8:53. I observed the dogs were barking fairly consistently with brief breaks during that time. Like I said, in that time I was parked in front of the address at 12701 with the engine off. On December 7th, I did the same thing and also observed, could hear the dogs barking from approximately 10:29 to 10:39 fairly consistently, again, with very brief breaks in between. And again, in that case, I was parked in front of 12801 North 53rd with the engine off and the windows open. December 13th, parked in front of the construction site again. The area was quiet from approximately 9 a.m. to 9:20, and then again from 11:35 to 11:45 a.m. And again, then I was parked in front of the 12801 North 53rd with the engine off and the windows down. And again, on December 14th, I was parked there from approximately 1:15 to 2 o'clock. Same location. The dogs had barked twice during that time frame, and were quiet the rest of the time. In that same area, I have an ongoing, unrelated case with the property that is directly south of this house where the dogs are, and he has not filed any kind of complaint as far as the animals. Now, he also does have a wooden privacy fence between his residence and the residence where the dogs are. Due to some miscommunication, the police did not serve the animal nuisance form to the people at the house until December 18th, but it was provided to them. Obviously, tonight we have numerous residents from the area speaking on both sides of this issue. I leave it to your direction on which one you would like to hear first. At this point, we're looking for a finding on this, but we do have a significant number of people that would like to speak on the issue.
I would like first to have the, whoever is responsible for the dogs to speak first.
Either yourself or Joe. No, both of you can speak, so yeah, I want you to.
One at
Hi.
a time.
My name is Tanya Jefferson.
Move the mic down a little bit. Thank you. Again, please.
Tanya Jefferson,
Thank you. Address?
12703 North 53rd Street, Temple Terrace.
Okay. You're the owner of the dogs?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, present.
I just was receiving calls from my neighbor saying that the dogs were barking. She did call several times, in which that had been corrected. She hasn't called since December the 24th. When she called December the 24th, she actually called thanking me for whatever was done to keep the dogs from barking, or, haven't had a call from her or any complaints from her since. As far as the dogs running around in the neighborhood, those weren't our dogs. Those were our neighbor's dog. We actually took pictures of our neighbor bringing the dog to us, thinking that it was our dog. It wasn't our dog, it was our neighbor's dog. Our neighbor has since gotten rid of that dog.
Okay. You want to add?
Yes, my name is Joseph Davis, 12703 North 53rd. We share the dogs together. We have a boy and a girl dog. They had puppies. We had 8 puppies from the beginning. We had 6. We got the people that's right across the street from us. They have a puppy. They got one of the puppies from us. We do everything in our power, you know, they dogs for one, and like our road is one of like the main dog walks that Temple Terrace in our neighborhood, people walk their dog all day, night, whenever they walk, they come that way. So, you know, dogs have a high sense. So, you know, they sense another dog, they might bark, but if any one of us or the kids in the house will go out there and tell them to be quiet, they be quiet. And these puppies and all, you know, and I built pens for him. I helped the neighbor next to us with the wooden fence. I helped him put up the fence over there. You know, we go out there at night just to see, you know, how our room, to be honest, the dogs are sitting on the far side of the property in the back. And to where the neighbor that's complaining, she stays way on the other side of our property, on her property. And our room is like, you know, it's the last room of our property before we get to her gate, you know, where she at. And we sit in there, we turn off all the TV and stuff at night sometimes just to, you know, to see if we, you know, if they're really that bad out there like that. You know, we got puppies, we know they're puppies too, but our dogs are not the ones that's doing what they're trying to say that, you know, our dogs doing like that, running around the neighborhood and you know, keeping people woke up all night like that. And it's only, to be honest with you, it's only like the neighbor that's next to us, the one that's real close to us, they not having a problem, and the dogs are on their side, right where their room window and stuff at, you know. And it's just this lady, you know, our other neighbor, I guess she got a problem with dogs, you know, because she's told another neighbor of ours that, you know, she's against dogs.
Made a comment that
you know.
I didn't know you were, you know, with having dogs or whatever, because our neighbor had dogs as well. So that kind of raised a red flag.
You know,
I've been living there 7 years, haven't had any problems at all.
Have you given one of your puppies or an adult dog down the street a little bit on the other side? Across 127th?
Say that again?
Did we give any dogs away?
Yeah.
No, sir. We
No.
gave a puppy.
You got rid of two puppies.
Right across the street from us, and
Right up
another one I gave away to my friends in St. Petersburg.
Okay. That one we can't hear. Okay, any other questions for them right now?
Do you have a chain link fence or is it a privacy fence around your property?
One side is privacy, one side is chain link.
Dogs are up against the privacy fence or are they up
Yes.
against the chain link?
Yes, privacy.
And so the neighbors only called you to complain about the noise and thanked you on the 24th for the noise, and dogs have not been out. She's never mentioned that to you personally about the dogs being
Haven't
out?
heard from her since.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll probably have you back. You have a right to rebut any other comments.
Okay.
Next person wishing to speak on this case?
Diana Bartlett, 12706 North 53rd Street. The dog that was wandering the streets was my grandson's. Him and his girlfriend moved, and they were getting rid of their dogs. They took it down to the pound, was unable to, the pound was charging them like $150 or something like that for a dog. I had 2 dogs, so I had them in the backyard. Someone came and stole one of them. Goodbye, thank you. But the one that she actually broke my fence, the privacy fence. She butted it. I mean, you saw she was constantly getting out. He actually told me, chain her up. So I chained her up. And when I chained her up, I had neighbors calling saying that I was beating her. I mean, they thought I was abusing this poor thing because she'd get on top of a car that was in the back and just start there howling and crying and just was, you know, but he finally found a way for that I could get her back into the pound and stuff because I didn't need her and want her. And my grandson and his girlfriend couldn't keep her anymore, so, but we finally got, you know, but that was the one that was running loose through the neighborhood, I have to admit, so she was the troublemaker. And she was very loud and very disturbant. But she, like I said, she is gone. And so she literally had people thinking that, like I said, I was literally abusing her. And he saw her several times. Because she was out, and he would say, "Here she's out again," you know, brought her up. And because I work from home, and he saw her, and he saw that she was not being abused, beaten or anything like that.
Are you any questions for Diana?
Just what was the time period? What was the time period that you had this dog before you were able to get it back in the pound? What months would you say?
Yeah, Steve Buckland, Code Enforcement. Yes, this was going on at the same time that we had this other complaint going on, which is that's where I felt that some of that was being a little convoluted between we had the complaint was combining dogs running in the neighborhood and the barking issue at the same time. Yes, I was able to get a hold of the animal, and I was able to coordinate it with the animal control to be able to get her to where she was able to drop the animal off without having to incur the inspects. One, obviously to solve the problem in the neighborhood, but also to make sure that the dog was cared for at that point. So that was accomplished.
So basically, your observation is it was running concurrent with the complaints?
That is correct, and
Okay.
being directly across the street from,
Yes.
from each other.
And also that the other ones were just puppies, so of course they were barking, you know, and during the day and stuff. But I lived right across the street, and I leave my window open during all day long. In fact, even in the wintertime with a fan, and I don't hear those dogs. And I work out of my house on the phone, and I never hear those. And they never disturb me during the day or at night. When I'm outside, I can hear them, but in my house with the window open, I cannot hear the puppies barking.
Time is up. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this case? There being none. Yeah, yeah. Anyone else?
My name's Tim Moody. I'm at 12806 53rd Street. So I'm 4 or 5 houses away. I hear those dogs bark constantly. Now, one thing I should say is I don't hear them much lately. But this is a neighborhood. You don't just let the dogs bark until you get fed up with it and then yell at them, okay? You know, if your dog is barking at all, that's a nuisance to everybody around you. And if it was my dog, it wouldn't happen. And if you're right next door, I mean, it'd drive me crazy. And I'm 3 or 4 houses away.
I have to agree. I do
And-
agree.
And another thing, I know you said that it was, you know, these are pit bulls we're talking about, so no one's mentioned that. We have grandchildren. When we push our grandchildren around the block, these pit bulls come running up to the stroller. Yeah, I don't know whose it was, but you can imagine.
You get a chance.
If it's your grandchild, which I have 2 small granddaughters, 1-year-old and 3-year-old, and these guys, you know, they're breeding pit bulls, and they're not taking care of them. They're barking, and they're running wild. But it's gotten better as far as the dogs running wild. But the barking has gotten a little bit better too, but that still is going to go on. And that's what I got to say about it.
What is the location of your house to theirs? Is it a couple houses down?
I'm 3 or 4 houses north,
North, okay.
and I have a dog myself. And if she was barking, I mean, that'd be a problem.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Tim? Next person?
Hi, I'm Leslie Jones. I live at 12709 North 53rd Street, right next door. Originally, wasn't going to speak. I was just going to stand up here and bark, so you guys would understand how much of a nuisance and annoyance it was, but I would have probably been removed. They're my next-door neighbors. I tried not to have to say anything or do anything. I thought they would hear the barking and realize that it's a nuisance, that the neighbors weren't happy. Didn't work. So I was informed by somebody else that said that if I don't make the complaints, how does it look that other neighbors are complaining about it, but I live right next door and I don't? Trying to be a good neighbor, I didn't want to, but then I started complaining. The first thing I did was I called Tanya, and I asked her, told her that this was going on, that I wasn't the only one. Well, she said they would see what they could do or whatever. And then again, I called them again, and then I called the police, because I was told, call the police, that's how that's gonna help. Called the police, and basically the police came out, but they told the neighbor that, or she told me that they said that there wasn't anything they could do. Well, at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever, when the dogs are barking, and they say that they only bark because people are out there, well, I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go looking through the neighborhood, wondering, who's out in my neighborhood, and there's nobody. It's the dogs are just barking. They bark continually. Okay, and yes, there's a brief break, and then all of a sudden, they start back up again. So just when you think it's safe to go back out, they start again. The police showed up, things like that, but then they say they can't do anything about it. I called the neighbor a few times about it. I've talked to them about it. I talked to the neighbor across the street, who was now saying that she didn't hear the dogs, where she was telling me that she heard the dogs too. Okay. So it's whatever side of the neighborhood. We used to all be friends, knew everybody, talked to everybody. That's why I tried to just work it out with the next door neighbors, and it didn't work. It's not working. As far as me calling her and telling her thank you, one night I did call her and I asked her again, the dogs are barking, can we please have some quiet? And for the rest of the evening, at least for a few hours, the dogs were quiet. I don't know what happened or why. So I did call, being a good neighbor, I called and said, thank you, whatever you did, they were quiet. But then the next day, they started back up again. I got lots of notes, but I can't read all of them. But the dogs are, like I say, I've lived there 10 years and never had a problem until just recently, 6, 8 months ago, when the dogs came into the neighborhood, when they brought the dogs in. Prior to that, I don't want to get into backstories and stuff of who's living where and what and why the dogs are there or anything like that. But prior to that, we didn't have any problems with dogs, didn't have any problems with neighbors, any of that sort of thing. And like Tim had just said, that it got a little bit quieter. What did they do with the dogs when it was cold out? And if they were able to bring the dogs in the house when it was cold out, why didn't they bring them in the rest of the time when we were complaining? Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Janet Ritchie, 12611 North 53rd Street. We would be 2 houses in the intersection between us, south of that house. The noise from the dogs started this summer. We didn't notice anything before that, and we did notice a lot of barking all day long. I couldn't tell you dates. I didn't keep a log of it, but it was noisy at my house. We could hear them barking, especially if we were outside. We didn't know what was happening, why these dogs were barking. Then we became aware of the fact that there were multiple dogs, and it was obvious why we were getting so much noise from them. I never issued a complaint. I hoped that it would go away and be resolved without having to do anything. But they definitely were very noisy, barking all the time.
Thank you, Janet. You need to be sworn in.
Your young lady here swore me in, I didn't stand up.
Yes.
Thank you. Raise your right hand. Do Do you swear or affirm that the testimony or evidence you're about to give or present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I am Rick Ritchie. I have been a resident of 12611 North 53rd Street for 34 years. That was my wife that just spoke. I would do a lot of work out in the yard in the mornings. I'm not here to talk about dogs running around the neighborhood. I don't see that we have a problem. So if they're talking about their dogs running around, they're not running around. I'm not seeing them at least. But in terms of the noise, I am hearing the barking. Now realize, please, that I'm testifying like this because we have a veterinarian placed right down the street where we hear dogs from time to time too, but not anywhere near the amount of noise that we hear from two houses up from me and an intersection there of 127th. Also, I'm speaking out for a few neighbors who could not be here. I have a neighbor, and I don't know whether you're going to believe this or not, but I have a neighbor who has lupus that does not want to, that could not get here tonight. She has problems with the dogs barking. And the neighbor across the street who is putting up the fence, I believe I have heard that he does not want to testify because he doesn't want to put up with any retaliation or lose a friend. So I wanted to let you know, yes, they are barking, and it's not bothering me, but I know it's bothering other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie, I do have another question for you.
Oh, geez.
Doesn't exactly
Do I have to be sworn
pertain,
in again, or?
doesn't have to
Okay.
exactly pertain to this case, but it is neighborhood dog barking.
Okay.
I happen to live in the neighborhood too. And since sometime in November, that's why I asked about the dog down the street. There's a new dog in town and he barks. I can almost tell when the people leave home because they leave him outside and he barks and he barks and he barks. The same kind of on and off. It's a wolf and then a stop and then more and it's very annoying. So I know exactly any of the people that are here. I have a dog and I don't let him bark. He'll bark. I go out and let him in or tell him, because he's an inside dog though, so makes a bit of difference. But I just want to know if you hear that one too.
No, I can assure you I would hear the difference between a wolf-style barking dog and 3 or 4 or 5 different types of different sounds of barking. And that's what I'm hearing now, is 3 or 4 or 5 different types of barking. I don't hear this other one
Okay.
that you're talking about. Any
You're
other?
lucky it's annoying.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Latanya Scott,
Speak closer to the mic.
sorry, Latanya Scott, 5303 East 127th Avenue. So we've been hearing the barking at our house. At first, we thought it was the veterinarian's office that they mentioned before, but then after hearing it several times and then trying to stand outside and isolate where the noise was coming from, it did sound like multiple young dogs barking for extended periods of time. As mentioned previously, it has, at least the sound, the amplified noise of the young dogs has gotten a little bit better recently, but it has been, I don't know if that's because they've grown up or they're training them more, I'm not sure, but if we could continue in that direction, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak, ma'am? Anyone else? Okay. Rebut. One at a time.
First of all, I want to say
Name
that.
again, please.
Excuse me?
Name again.
Tanya Jefferson, 12703 North 53rd Street. Not understanding where they heard dogs from this summer. I've only had the dogs for 2 months, so I don't know where the summer came from. The noise is maybe 2.5 months, but it wasn't summer.
Like 3.5,
Yeah,
9 months.
so not sure where that came from. It hasn't been that
2.5
long.
months?
Yeah, that's how long I've had them. So I don't know where they get that. It started in the summer,
Well, I can't answer that one, but I know that if the dogs are annoying as much as the one is couple doors down and across
We
from
hear the
me.
ones down the street, so I don't understand why he doesn't hear them.
But it's not a pleasant thing. So I can sympathize with other people. It's really annoying.
I
all I
understand,
can
and it's
say.
gotten a lot better. I haven't gotten any complaints. I know if there were complaints to be made, Ms. Jones would have given me a call.
Well, better for a day or a night is helpful, but better for, well, let me ask you, because there is a code requirement, limit on how many animals, how many dogs you can have. What do you plan on doing with all of them?
We're actually taking some of them to Gainesville to family.
Okay, and how soon is that?
Probably like the next couple of weeks.
Are you gonna take 5 of them? 6 of them?
What's the amount
excuse
we
me.
can have?
You gotta get with the city to find that out. Maybe, do you have that? I think it's not 5 or 6.
Can I ask you a question, sir, first? If this young lady get pregnant right now, today or tomorrow, do we determine how many kids she have?
That's irrelevant.
And I mean,
It's
the
irrelevant.
dog
I'm
had
not-
all
I
the
don't-
puppies.
I'm not-
That's not, you
Sir.
saying it like we just housing dogs. We just had
Sir.
2 dogs, they had puppies.
I'm not
we're
gonna hear,
breeding no
I'm not gonna
dogs, like-
hear this has nothing to do with the case.
What is-
There is a
Well,
limit
she
on
probably
dogs, it's by code, okay? Your dogs are probably old, if they're old enough to give away 2, you can give away 4.
We ain't giving them away though.
Well,
like
sell them,
that.
whatever you're gonna do, that's up to you, but what I'm telling you, I'm asking you to be cooperative, okay? And there is a code that is limitation on animals. So if you want to be belligerent about it, I think you should go and find out what the code is before you
That's what
start
we asking now.
attacking us.
That's what
Okay.
I'm just
The
asking
city
you a
here,
question.
the city is here,
Yeah, we ain't attacking, we trying
the
to
city's
get to
here, the
bottom
city
of
hall's
it, sir.
open every day.
We feel like we've been,
Please,
we've
please.
been we've been good neighbors to everybody. We ain't did nothing wrong to nobody. They ask us to fix it, we go fix it. They tell us to be quiet, we try to make them be quiet. They was little puppies. They growing up. They don't do as much barking as they was. They say they bark all day. Your city man stood out there with me for over 30 minutes or so talking. I asked him, I said, do you hear the dogs? He's like, no, I don't hear them now. You know what I'm saying? This is all I'm saying. We ain't here to do, we just trying to get to the bottom of it, because it's making us look like we bad people. We trying to breed pit bulls and our dogs running to kids, strollers. There ain't none of that happening. And so, we wrong for trying to cover up for that when they sitting there saying that
Right.
about us. Well, we got grandbabies that go out there and play with these dogs.
Well, that did get straightened out as to far whose dogs are running around. But are you sympathetic for your neighbors?
All the time.
Absolutely. That's why
Okay,
we
so
try to
can we
correct the
do,
issue.
can we do better at
We have.
limiting the barking more than you have?
We have.
And how
They
do you,
have
do-
not complained at all.
how do you, well, they just can't be complaining all the time. How do you do it? How do you keep them more quiet?
We just make sure they're full at night.
Let them out in the day. I let
and
them
let
out in
them
the
run and
day.
get tired
Our
in the
neighbor's
daytime.
gate was tore up, so we couldn't just let them run around the yard. We got chain link fence on one side, and the neighbor's gate rotted out on this side, so we couldn't just let them run. I built a pen. I built a chain link pen for them to let them run around in there, because they were still smaller. In the process of letting them do that, the neighbor next door, the code, he had violated codes too.
Because of
He-
Irma, a tree fell out of our yard and knocked his fence down. So,
And so I
he,
helped him build his gate up in order to help keep the dogs in too. Don't let our dogs get out. You see what I'm saying? This what I ain't, we,
What, you then take them in at night?
we take them in at night.
they don't, they're not house dogs, but they're
How do
in
you-
the yard.
How then do you control them?
What do you mean control?
How do you get them more quiet?
They're just
Just tell
tired
'em to
from
be
running
quiet.
around and they're full and they sleep. They've been sleeping.
Next question.
I got a question. How often do you walk these dogs?
Every
Well-
day they run around every
How
day.
often do you walk them though?
Well,
Oh.
the little puppies, we don't walk them. They ain't even call it chain yet. They
I
try
mean,
to.
they're barking and they're rambunctious because they gotta
We let
they
'em
gotta
out-
get their energy up. But
we
let
let
them
'em
out in
out
the
in the gate.
backyard, it's not gonna do it. I mean,
Huh?
I got
We-
I've always had dogs, I had a lot of dogs. And I mean, pit bulls, at least an hour and a half, 2 hours a day of some type of activity, and not just running around the backyard, but walking them, probably help a little bit. And, I think your neighbors would appreciate it too, if they saw you outside walking them and trying to tire them out and everything else. I can promise you that they would go to sleep at night if you exerted that energy and got that out of them. And the backyard's not enough, not for pit bulls, you know?
No matter how big the backyard is.
I mean,
It's
These
huge.
little puppies, sir.
It's
They
huge.
I know the puppies, but what about the two
Show 'em-
dogs?
We got pictures, you can see them, so you got, where your pictures?
I'm sure they're cute, but I just,
Show them the picture.
You wanna
I mean,
see?
cause we can't put them on a leash, they ain't, we gotta train them to the leash. I already been trying to work with them with that too, but right now, we can't just get them and, walk them down the road because they're gonna pull out. Now, other big dogs, we walk them, with no problem. So the best thing I can figure is try to fix the gate and let them run around, feed them, let them run around out there in the yard. When they go to get dark, I put them up. I mean, that's all they little. They're still little puppies.
So the dogs, that part of the reason that they're quieter is that fence is up now so you can let them run more.
Yes, sir. I fixed the fence. You can show them? Could we bring this show to you?
No, you don't need to.
I fixed the fence for the man.
Yeah, we couldn't let them
next
out
door.
because they could go into the neighbor's yard, so now they can run around free.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Say one more thing.
Yes. Then they'll have another chance.
I'm not hearing the dogs at night, all right? And maybe it's because of the insulation in my house or something that I can't hear them. I hear them in the daytime when I'm outside, but see, I'm out early sometimes, so a lot of the people are still sleeping, still in bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. These are some of the people that are complaining about it, that the dogs are barking in the morning. I don't hear the dogs at night, so if it's something about taking care of them or keeping them quiet at night, that's no effect. It's the daytime that's getting us, or getting me, I should say.
Okay.
Okay, he doesn't hear the dogs at night, but she hears the dogs at night. He's closer to us than she is. If he hears them in the morning, why doesn't she hear them in the morning? She's always complaining at night about the dogs barking. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
You want to rebut again?
Hi, Leslie Jones, 12709 North 53rd Street, and we could go on all night, but we won't do this. First off, I like dogs, so when they said I don't like dogs, that's not true. And as far as why I haven't been complaining anymore, I kind of said that earlier because the police said there's nothing you can do about it, so why keep calling them? And I don't call her during the day because she works during the day, and you're not supposed to take personal calls during the day, I wouldn't think. So it's at nighttime normally that I call. And sometimes like late at night, like after 11 or before, around that time when it should be quieting down in the neighborhood, that's when I start calling. And I haven't called that many times because I'm trying not to. Once you say something and tell them, do something about it, please. She had a dog a long time ago. The dog was great. Loved the dog, talked to the dog got loose. Dog would come over, I'd take the dog, he'd go back in the yard, no problem. And I even asked her, I gave her my email, because she said she wanted to sell them. I said, here's my email, if I can put it out there and help you to sell them, or do anything, let me know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to add anything to that? No. Okay. Okay, we've had some hearing here, and
Okay,
do you have a question? You're going to?
for the city,
Oh,
for Mr. Buckland.
yes, Mr. Buckland, please finish up.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, there's merit to this. That's why we're getting this violation this evening.
Correct, but because we had the form that was filed
Yeah.
by the original complainants, and also because of the two instances that I personally heard during that time frame of the dogs barking.
I mean, these cases are complex. How are we going to validate, if we set a 30-day time limit, how do we validate that? I mean, to me, that's going to be the dilemma here.
Yes, the
For
difficult
us.
part is as far as determining whether or not, when does the property come into compliance?
Yeah.
Is what the question comes up with. I think at this point, we're looking for a finding of what we've had presented up to this point. And to move forward from there, starting afresh, and that if we continue to have a problem, then it becomes a second violation, or repeat violation, and then we would have to address it through the same manner that we're currently doing. It would not be able to, assign a fine per day until coming into compliance. It would actually need to come through as just a set fine based on, if there was a additional violation that occurred, a secondary violation.
Would that go by complaint? Excuse me, by complaint? Or how do you, so, dog complaints are difficult to deal with. And you can go out there and they're not barking, but as soon as you leave, they could be barking.
Correct.
So when do you come into compliance?
And go ahead, sorry, I'll let him answer.
What I was, the only thing that we have in writing at this point that would indicate any kind of benchmark that you can use for stating that a place has come into compliance would be based off the form that's sent out by the police department, because it says essentially you have 3 days to come into compliance. With that in mind, that would give me the indication that if there are no complaints, say if there had been no complaints over the last 3 days, and maybe that's the question that needs to be asked, is has there been a problem over the last 3 days? If there has not been a problem over the last 3 days, then I would see as that only being the only benchmark that we currently have in code, that we would bring the property into compliance and then therefore just be looking for a finding. And then if the problem continued, then it would be set up as a repeat violation, because we've already been here once and have to address it from that aspect. But you're right, we're still going to run into the issue of, well, how do you show, where the violation is?
You could be full-time dog bark watch, because every 3
Yes, I could.
days, we can set a fine, and you'd go out there every 3 days to check, for each time you have a complaint, and they got 3 days.
That would be the
And the
easier.
dog is quiet for 3 days or 2 days, and then it's barking again, so we start all over again. But every 3 days, they'd be fined that fine. Mr. Stabs?
I think the easiest way to do it is we need to find a hearing on the evidence from the police report, whether it's a guilty, not guilty. Then if it happens again, and Officer Buckland has documentation of it, it then can go to a repeat where we can automatically dictate a fine per occurrence after that.
Right, the fine could be.
That's the only way
Right,
Yeah, and
that's what I mean.
I
It-
can see.
And the only thing I was trying to ask him, and I didn't ask it direct enough, we had another case like this, but they were able to erect a fence and mitigate the sound and do it that way. That doesn't sound like that's going to solve this issue here.
No, you've got, and whether the privacy fence is on the south side of the property,
Right.
which is the opposite from where most of the people live, or at least the people next door. So you've got the chain link fence that does allow the sound to continue right on through and continue north from the property.
All right.
If an additional privacy fence was put up in lieu of that chain link fence, that might help mitigate some of the noise. But it's not going to help you as far as the noise that's traveling to the south.
Okay.
And do we know if we have a code that, of limit of pets or not?
As far as
or-
the number of pets, that's what
Yeah.
that's where we were looking for, and at this point, I do not see a specified number that dictates how many dogs you can have, or how many pets you can have on a
Curious
particular
when somebody
location.
brought it up, because it's gonna be a recurring problem, one way or another, amongst the neighbors, I believe, and trying to find a resolution here is gonna be the tricky part for them, so.
Mr. Chairman? It seems to me,
Mr.
I'm getting the impression that they're breeding the dogs, is that right? Whether for profit or for just to give them away? Because you said that they had puppies. and that you gave away certain puppies. See, that gives me the impression that maybe there's some breeding going on. And I'm not saying that you're profiting from it. I'm just saying that that may be what's happening. It may be happening because they're intact and they're not spayed and neutered, okay? That may help you there too, okay? But certainly if that is the case, then one of the things that you can do is once you have given away that the most current litter is to discontinue letting them breed, whether it's, like I said, for profit or they're just because they're intact and they should be spayed and neutered. And that probably would mitigate a lot of the barking because you wouldn't have so many at one time. Right? At least not under the circumstances that you are living in. If you're breeding these dogs and you don't have proper housing for them or whatever, and it's causing a nuisance complaint for them barking, and I understand puppies do bark. So once you've been able to, turn over the dogs to someone else, then that would pretty much take care of the issue. Just a thought.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. You're looking for a finding?
Yes, sir.
Is that it?
At this point, it's, other than if we have not had any issues over, like I said, over the last couple of days, and somewhat what's been, and that's a question is, has it started, or is it being continuous up through the last 3 days?
It continues, but like I said, it doesn't do, it has lessened a little bit, but I'm not home very much because I can't take it anymore. I'm leaving the house every day. And I don't call the police anymore because it doesn't do me any good. I don't call them anymore because it doesn't do me any good.
City Attorney?
In looking at the particular ordinance that's been cited here, it specifically refers to the chief of police causing a copy of the complaint to be served upon the person. It also says that if such nuisance is not abated within 3 days after the service of such complaint upon the party complained against, the city, in its sole discretion, may request a hearing before the Municipal Code Enforcement Board. So it seems that the way it's been set up, and it requires that two persons residing in two separate dwellings proximate to the alleged nuisance, they have to verify the complaint. So that kind of goes to if there's a repeat violation, it's going to have to come about by the verified complaint of two separate persons from two separate dwellings. Obviously, it also refers to upon verification of the complaint as an alternative, so therefore the code enforcement officer could go to the residence if he so chose and sit there to see if there's any problem. But there would not be, without that and without two people coming forward again to the police so that they can serve the complaint, there should not be a repeat violation brought before you. The city will ask for a hearing before you if there is another complaint, as I've just discussed. But it does give the owner the opportunity to cure the problem 3 days worth. If it's cured within 3 days, there shouldn't be a hearing here. So I don't know that any of these witnesses have specifically said, I've heard this within 3 days, even recently. It sounded like the police, I think, did the complaint on the 18th of December, was that it?
That is correct. There's a miscommunication there as far as the copy was brought down to us.
Okay.
And the procedure is that the copy ends up coming down to code as the last part of the process, and apparently it was never served prior to it coming to us, so that's why it was sent back up to the police department and
Okay.
had them serve it.
If everything went as it's supposed to, the owners had 3 days, should have had 3 days, after the 18th, if it was served on them, to get into compliance, and if they were in compliance in those 3 days, the case should have been closed. So I don't know what happened in this particular one, but we're here. So then the question is, even within the last 3 days, has there been compliance? Has there been barking in the last 3 days?
But that would be to the police. The police would have to serve that complaint.
Serving the complaint puts the owner on notice that you have 3 days to fix this problem. And if they fix the problem within those 3 days, the city would normally, according to this, not even request a hearing on this.
But my understanding is the barking just goes on. It hasn't stopped for 3 days. So, and if the police come out and say there's nothing they can do about it, then who makes this form? Do you have to make the form and present it to the police, and the police then deliver it?
No, the form is actually is one of their forms. It's a form that they have. This is the copy of the one that was served. That's where the process, and that's where we direct them when the call initially comes in for any of the nuisance animal calls come in. We direct those people that they need to contact the police department to fill out one of these forms, to have it served on the parties to get it moved forward. And then if the problem continues, then that's where the police department is supposed to turn around and forward a copy of this down to us to take it to the next step.
Is that form filled out by the complainant or the police?
No, it's filled out by the complainant. You know, it has the two individual people from two separate residences, lists the location and where the problem's coming from, a brief description of what the problem is, and then that they sign it saying that yes, we're saying that we're requesting them to to have this nuisance abated, and then the police department goes back out and delivers a copy of this to the place where the problem's occurring at.
So the resident needs to go to the police department to fill out the form?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Well, to turn in, they can get it via email.
And the actual content of the form is printed in the ordinance. They could conceivably type it up themselves and mail it in, email it in, drop it off. All you have to do is go to the code is on the website, and the form is here with the blanks and everything. And they could initiate, it would take two from separate houses, but they could initiate another complaint.
Okay. This is dog barking school here. Mr. Stats.
So if somebody goes down, two households sign the form, the police file the form, it happens again within 3 days, another issue, would that come back to us, or does that go to the police? Would they be able to find them, the police department, or
No, the police department can't find them.
ticket them, or whatever they?
No, the police department can should be able to give them a copy of the form to fill out. The police department should be able to submit it to the city, probably to codes, and the city would request a hearing in front of this board.
It's a little confusing, that's why.
Right, this process, this particular one took a whole lot longer than probably what it was envisioned to go through, because that's what it sounds like. Once this form is filled out, and if the problem continues, and they notify the police, once the police have issued this form, I would think that they would be the ones that would need to be notified, hey, it's less than the 3 days, or it's more than 3 days and they still haven't fixed the problem, we still have a problem, that the police department would then follow up. This copy would come down to code, and we would just immediately turn around and set it up to bring it before the code board. Because we don't have, in this case, I've taken the time to go out there and try setting up to see if there is evidence of the barking, or if there was a lack of evidence of the barking on those days. Which, and as I mentioned earlier, there were some days there was, and there were some days that there weren't. But the time frame is what we're dealing with as far as being able to bring it before the board.
So let me see if I understand. It's probably don't. The resident who would wish to complain about the barking dog, so I might have to find myself doing this, fills out the form and takes it to the police station, or has the police give it to the police when they come, if you call them?
Right, if they call and yes, my last conversation with the police department is that they need to have essentially wet ink signature on it. They need to have an original copy. So yes, you could print it out from your home computer. It wouldn't have the neat little logo on the top, but the content is the same. They would be able to print it out for the house when the police arrive, saying, look, this is where the problem's originating from. I'm signing this part of it. And it already has in place that in the event that you do not have two people signing the form, that the chief of police would, shall cause an investigation to be made to verify the allegation of the complaint. Is what's listed on this copy, I believe is also the same verbiage in the ordinance. So that part of it is in place to get it started before it gets to code.
Okay, so then if, once the police have it, and they don't get another complaint within 3 days, then it's cured for that event?
Right, if, it would be, you know, I hate to use the word, but it would be assumed that the nuisance has been abated if the people that are complaining do not follow through and call again to say, hey, we still have the problem.
So the burden is more on the neighbor than it is on the owner of the dogs that can't control them or doesn't control them? Or-
There's more burden on them to move the process forward, that is correct.
Okay. Any other comments? I think that's backwards, because it's just an ongoing nothing. And it's no different than the case we had before here, that, other than the one lady got rid of her dog, and that took care of the barking, because it was a barking dog. She had a couple of dogs, she kept one, got rid of one, and the problem went away. And so it isn't the neighbor's problem that somebody comes in and has a litter of puppies and has two dogs that are normal dogs, doing what dogs do, and have more babies and more babies and more babies, and they all bark. All dogs bark, except Malamutes, I guess. But I'm at wit's end, because there's nothing, we can give a fine tonight. It has no value, because it doesn't mean anything. There's nothing, there's no repeat violation,
No, there is. You can find a violation tonight, you can issue a fine or not issue a fine. Then, if it starts again, all it takes is two neighbors to send in, it's a tiny little paragraph. All they have to do is, it's really just filling in the circumstances, and they both sign it. Or they can sign separate ones. They submit it to the police, and then the police will probably ask codes to do an investigation, just like they would any other type of a complaint of a code violation, and it would come back here again as a repeat violation.
Yep.
Okay, because I've said so much, I have to talk to Tanya here. What I've said tonight, although it's my heartfelt feeling, is not an attack on you or your people or your dogs. What we're doing here is trying to get our hands on what can we do? What can we as neighbors do if something needs to be done? And so the case was brought tonight with you people here, could have been anybody. So it's not an offense to you, and I want you to realize that. But this is a problem around Temple Terrace, probably around every community where there are dogs. But not all dogs bark all the time. Not all dogs bark from 11 o'clock to, say, 7 in the morning. Would be nice not to have dogs barking, ever. But they do. And I have one that hasn't been in the complaint tonight, but it's driving me crazy, because you can tell when the people are gone from home, they leave the dog out, and it just doesn't bark constant, but it barks very, very frequently. Yeah. So, I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something, sir? Can I say something, sir?
Sure, name.
Just on behalf of everybody being grown and back, that we all neighbors, all we would like to ask, the neighbors, you know, just give us a chance. Y'all know, you know, everybody understand that, you know, we ain't been had all these. They had puppies. We gotta do what we gotta do to try to, you know, raise the puppies, you know, up to where we can get rid of them, cause we don't wanna keep all of them anyway. But all we asking is just y'all just work with us and let us get it, you know, cause it's like now everybody, you know, roll on us. Our dog had puppies, you know what I'm saying? We didn't plan them to have them, you know. She got in heat. We got a girl dog. The boy dog get off the chain, you know. They stuck. They go to puppies, you know. So now we got the puppies. All we can do is try to get them up to where we can, you know, disperse of the ones we got to get rid of, and try to go from there. That's all we trying to get an understanding like that. We ain't trying to discomfort nobody, and we ain't trying to be discomfort. You know what I'm saying? We had puppies. We didn't plan to have them. We ain't breeding dogs. You know what I'm saying? They had them. They cute little puppies. We've been trying to, you know. He come around. He talk with me. If he say anything, he say I be trying to do whatever he asks me to do. You know, and trying to keep things right around there. You know, I don't want us, you know, feel like we coming here trying to. It's not like that. We in the neighborhood. We just trying to live too.
It's like half
Right.
of these neighbors, I don't even know them.
I know.
Any of them.
I know. I've been there 30 years, so
I've been there
and
7. I don't know.
most of
I
them.
know. I can say I seen one walking her dog, and then the one next door to me. The rest of them, I don't even know.
Well, I want to thank you in ahead of time for your cooperation. Please do the best, very best you
We
can.
are.
Okay. Thank you. All right, guys. Dog session 101 here. Can I get a motion?
So, are we considering in compliance or out of compliance? Just for the motion? That's all I need to know, one way or the other.
Well, our action is on the form that they had.
But technically, they're in compliance right now, because the dog's not barking. So that's all, I mean, I just want to make sure we're using the right one, so if it comes back as a repeat, we don't have a problem.
They're out of compliance. The dogs are still barking. What's the resolution?
If I may,
I think we,
if I may, and I think, and again, what I think I heard the city attorney say, and what I think I heard Code Enforcement Officer Buckland say is, the instrument that's in place is that document from the police department that was signed by 2 people. That validates the complaint, and then that goes to the code enforcement to do the investigation and the due diligence of the police department. He found that on those 2 occasions, the dogs were out of compliance. He has since filed that to come to us to make a finding. Is that a summation about right, what I heard?
Yes.
Okay.
so I call for a motion. Because you can't have a repeat violation if you don't have a violation.
You won't have a violation if you have a policeman that says there's nothing you can do about it. That's where your circuit is broken.
We can't do
Right,
anything
and I
about it.
understand that.
I think given tonight, we'll get to that point.
Okay.
You know,
We've
I mean, obviously, we appreciate all of you coming out, and like I said, we've all got dogs, we've all got places in our hearts, maybe some have cats, I've got both. So you made it abundantly clear that we'll find where we, as a city, can do better. We just need to make sure that you, as a neighborhood, can get along. You know, and that's really what it comes down to.
It's kind of interesting that this case is the first case at the beginning of the year, which I think for me, and I think probably for all the board, speaking for all of them, we've learned some things tonight that we didn't know in our other dog cases. And so we can go on from here. I think at this point, what I could say is there's a lot of things that we as citizens of Temple Terrace, whether it's dog cases or permits, we need to be make more use of the city hall to find out where we fit in this world, because there are codes and there are reasons for the codes. So we have these meetings here once a month, and it goes on TV, but the only people that watch it are people that want to watch it. And normal people like you people over there probably have not. How many have watched a code enforcement meeting? Okay, that's good, I'm proud. That was a surprise, but anyway, I'm done with that speech. Let's go ahead and have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion, and I want to clarify that we're citing the property holder, right? The owner of the property. So I'll make a motion in case number 17286, and is that the city versus Premier Holdings and Management Group Incorporated, Michael M. Barnes, registered agent? Okay, because it's on the agenda, it has their names. That's why I want to make sure as I make this motion.
And that was case number 2994.
I'm sorry, it's in our, my mistake. Tell I missed last month. Okay, in case number,
2994.
right here, yeah. Based on the testimony of Code Compliance Officer Buckland, several citizens, the residents, Tanya Jefferson, Joseph Davis, Diane Bartlett, citizens Tim Moody, Leslie Jones, Jane Ritchie, Rick Ritchie, and LaTanya Scott, presented to this board at this hearing of the documentary evidence received by the board, and make a motion that the board find Premier Holdings and Management Group Incorporated, Michael M. Barnes, registered agent.
That's Michelle Barnes.
Michelle, thank you. Michelle Barnes, in case number 172994, to be guilty of violating Section 6-3 of the City Code, and give the respondents until January 25th to come in compliance with the code. If property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $35 per day shall begin to accrue on the date following, until the date that the violator, on the date following, which would be
26.
January 26, and continue to accrue until the date that the violator provides the city with evidence that the property's been brought into compliance.
Motion by, second, second,
I second.
excuse me, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Discussion, but.
We've had a lot of discussion. Okay, the no nays?
I apologize to Michelle, sorry.
Tanya, and I don't remember writing your name. Who's, what?
I have a question. If they're not in compliance within that date, do we call the city? Do we call the police? Who do we?
I'm about to say
Oh,
that.
thank you.
Okay, Tanya, and I didn't get your name down. I didn't write it down. Joseph, I did write it down, but I couldn't see it. Okay, what has just happened is you've been found guilty of a dog barking violation through the city code form that went by complaint to the police and was brought back to the city, to the code enforcement. And a fine of $35 per day immediate, as if this case comes, if you get complaints again by the same venue, by having two neighbors complain about the dog to the police department, which they fill out the form, give it to the police will do what they do, and then it'll come back to code enforcement to bring back to us. And my understanding is a $35 fine will be attached to that at that time.
So
Right.
what's the compliance? So what we need, have to do? They say we have
Keep-
to get rid of the dogs?
Keep the dogs quiet.
And if we have proof that they are quiet regardless of what they say,
I mean,
if we can show proof that they are quiet, then.
Yeah,
That'll
the-
be in class 102.
Well, that'd be like recording them.
We would, that would be nice if they're not, maybe you have to record it, but you're gonna hear if they're barking. If you're recording, you're gonna know they're barking. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to record.
If they're not barking on a certain day, and then you're being told that they are barking, we have proof that they're not barking,
Whatever you have to do.
I-
they haven't been barking.
We'll cross that bridge, because unless you tell on there what date the tape is made and all that.
If I may, Mr. Davis, I think you started off by saying, you know, you need to work together on this. And that's why I gave you.
That's still,
I-
then when we come down,
Hang-
it's like,
hang on,
that's
hang
still
on.
like, well, you know what I mean, they ain't getting, you
Mr.
know,
Davis,
like,
hang on.
what can we do? Y'all, they want us to get rid of our dogs and they keep their dogs.
Well,
Trying to-
here, I'm giving you 2 weeks, okay? And it's, the work's gonna be on him to make it compliant, go out there and hear it. Now, I've given you a couple weeks. You said you're gonna take some to Gainesville, so I'm taking you at your word. And then I'm hoping that you guys are gonna be able to work that out and we don't have to come back in front of this board. And and I think that there should be a resolution there, because other people have dogs as well.
I just wanna say,
Okay.
I think like, if we don't get rid of all our dogs and just don't have no dogs, they're gonna have a more complaint on us again.
Not necessarily so. A lot of people have dogs, and you don't hear dogs barking all day long, every day, unless they're barking at you when you walk by, you know. It's, other than that one behind me, is why it's barking. I think it's just because it's left alone. So that also is an issue. Yeah. Okay. Dog issue closed? All right. Thank you all for coming. It is important that these things, because it is a health issue. It's very distressing when you're trying to sleep and a dog barks and wakes you up, and then it's quiet, and then they bark again, so okay? I apologize to all the rest. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, you know where I live, too.
Huh?
You know where I live, too,
Yeah.
right?
All right, I like you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, I apologize to, I got 2 other people in the audience, and it's been a wild ride up to this point. Let's go on with the next case.
Case number 172197, City versus Mary Catherine Rocha for property located at 5419 Rainbow Drive. This case is before the board based on alleged violation of Section 8-102-13C, roofs due to maintain, and Section 12-860, inoperative vehicle, outdoor parts storage. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Officer Silva. The city has evidence that the notice of violation, notice of hearing were properly served.
Hold on.
We have this case, and then it will be yours, Mr. Vernon. So hopefully this will be all pretty quick, but.
Good evening. Jose Silva, Co-Compliance Officer. This case originated proactively on September 25th, 2017. My inspection at the time revealed an overgrown condition in the front yard, the front's fascia and soffit and gutters damaged, and an inoperative vehicle in the driveway with no tag. This time I issued door hangers with a compliance date of October 9th, 2017. My inspection on October 17th, 2017 revealed the grass cut and the inoperative vehicle removed from the property. I re-inspected the property on November 2nd, which time it revealed no change. There was a second inoperative vehicle brought back to the property and parked in the driveway, along with the other violations that damaged fascia, soffit, and the gutters. I issued an NOV with a compliance date of November 17th. No one was home, so I posted the notice at the residence as well as City Hall, and also mailed copies, both certified and regular mail, to the address. My inspection on December 9th, 2017 revealed no change. This time I would like to submit photographic evidence of the violations taken by me on December 12th, 2017. It's going to be, exhibit number 1 is going to be damaged fascia and soffit. Number 2 is going to be the damaged gutter. And number 3 is going to be the inoperative vehicle.
Board will accept. Any questions? Any questions over on this side? Okay. We have a person present to speak.
Ms. Rocha is here present.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. Name and address?
Mary Kay Rocha, 5419 Rainbow Drive.
Thank you.
What he said is right. The car is there. I just talked to the person. I don't own the car. I talked to the person that owns it. They're actually in the Bahamas. They'll be back on Tuesday, and it should be removed within a day, I would guess, at that time. The fascia and soffit, I have a gentleman who was supposed to start on it last week. He's told me that he'll start on it Monday, and it should be fixed at that point in time.
Okay.
When-
And the roof and soffit?
No, the roof's fine.
Just the soffit and the
Just the
fascia?
soffit and fascia where it
Okay.
came down during the hurricane.
Okay.
And I think that's it, isn't it?
And the
Yeah,
gutter?
well, when he does the fascia, and that he's gonna do
Put it all
the
back up.
gutters, yeah, it'll be all put right,
Okay.
yeah. And they'll start it, he said he'd start it Monday, so I'm not sure how long it'll take after that.
It doesn't take too long. In all likelihood, it won't take too long. You should
I
have it
wouldn't
done in a
think
week.
so.
Anything else?
No, I don't have a barking dog.
I'm glad of that.
I have a dog, but it doesn't bark.
Yeah. You know, we should have had the cases switched around. But anyway, thank you for sitting through all that. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Rocha.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Just a finding? Okay. All right, no other persons wishing to speak on the case, and so therefore I would like a motion. Anyone? Mr. Stats?
Based
Oh, Mr. Allen, sorry.
Didn't look far enough down the line. Based on the testimony of Code Compliance Officer Jose Silva and Mary Catherine Roca, presented to the board at this hearing and the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Mary Catherine Roca in case number 17-2197 to be guilty of violating sections 8-102-13C 3 times and 12-860 of the city code, and give the respondents until February 14th to come into compliance with the code sections in question. If the property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $50 per day shall begin to accrue on the day following the compliance date and continue to accrue until the date that the violator provides the city with evidence that the property has been brought into compliance.
Motion has been made and seconded by Mr. Stats. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Ms. Rocha, that the finding has been made and for the violation, and a fine of $50 per day will begin to accrue on February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. You'll be well done with it by then, I'm hoping. And everything will be good. Thank you. Next,
Okay.
please.
Case number 17-2646, City versus Milton Vernon for property located at 5417 Rainbow Drive. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of section 12860, inoperative vehicle outdoor parts storage. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Officer Silva. City has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Jose Silva, Co-Compliance Officer. This case originated proactively on October 24th, 2017. My inspection at the time revealed an inoperative vehicle in the driveway of the residence with flat tires and no tag. This time I issued a door hanger with a compliance date of October 28, 2017. My inspection on November 2nd, 2017 revealed no change. Notice violation was issued with a compliance date of November 12th, 2017. No one was home at the time, so I posted the notice at the residence as well as City Hall. I also mailed copies, both certified and regular mail, to the address. My inspection on December 9th, 2017 revealed no change. This time, I would like to submit a photographic evidence of the violation taken on by me on December 22nd, 2017. Exhibit number 1 is going to be an inoperable vehicle with a flat tire, no tag.
Board will accept.
At this time, there is no change. The vehicle is still at the residence.
Thank you. Mr. Vernon?
Yes.
Name and address, please.
Milton Vernon, 5417 Rainbow Drive, Denver Terrace. I already went and got the title for the car. I tried to get it towed. I used my AAA to tow it, but AAA does not tow it to the salvage yard, so I have to find other ways to get it towed here, but I already got the title. It will be taken care of. It's easy fix.
So you got a title, clear title on it and?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just haven't had a chance to do it because I'm a long-distance truck driver, so I'm hardly home, but I'll take care of it, it's no problem.
Okay. Do you have a salvage yard picked out?
There's one right down the street from the house,
Okay.
but I just thought it would be an easy fix. I could tow it down there, but,
You gotta have them come and get it?
that's an option. I gotta call them and find out if they do that, and I'll have it removed, no problem.
Okay.
All right.
Hold on. Any other questions? Mr. Stats?
So you're getting rid of the car and scrapping it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just know typically those places they'll come and pick them up.
Say that again?
The salvage yards will pick the car up.
Okay.
So
I
it
didn't
should be
know that.
pretty easy.
Any other? No other options, no other speakers? Motion, please. Anyone?
Based on the testimony of Code Compliance Officer Jose Silva and Vernon Milton, or is it Milton Vernon or Vernon Milton?
Milton Vernon.
I'm sorry, Milton Vernon. Okay. Presented to the board at this hearing and the documentary evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Milton Vernon in case number 17-2646 to be guilty of violating section 12-860 of the city code and give the respondent until February 14th to come into compliance with the code sections in question. If the property is not brought into compliance by that date, a fine of $50 per day shall begin to accrue on the day following the compliance date and continue to accrue until the date that the violator provides the city with evidence that the property has been brought into compliance.
Second by Mr. Newkirk. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Okay, Mr. Vernon,
Yes, sir.
there has been a finding, and you have 30 days to get the car moved, sooner the better for you. You might as well be rid of it when you have the title.
Yeah.
But if it's there on the 15th of February, the fine will start to accrue,
Okay.
$50 per day.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Doug.
you for hanging in with us.
No problem. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Hey, nice to meet you again, huh? I'll see you around, okay?
All right, give me a call when you get rid of it, if not.
Will do. This is the number on this, sir? This is the,
Yes, sir.
oh, there you go. Okay, no problem. Have a good one.
Okay.
Next case.
Last case of hearings. Case number 17-3235, City versus Craig Brunstein for property located at 418 Ferncliff Avenue. The case is before the board based on alleged violation of section 128592, RVs, boats, trailers, non-commercial. The case will be prosecuted this evening by Officer Silva. The city has evidence that the notice of violation and notice of hearing were properly served.
Good evening, Jose Silva, Code Compliance Officer. This case originated from a citizen complaint on December 11, 2017. My inspection at the time revealed a boat and trailer parked in the driveway of the residence unscreened from view. I waited 2 days and re-inspected the residence on December 13, 2017. My inspection on December 13, 2017 revealed no change. I issued a notice of violation with a compliance date of December 15, 2017. No one was home, so I posted the notice at the residence as well as City Hall. Also mailed copies, both certified and regular mail, to the address. My inspection on December 26, 2017 revealed no change. This time, I would like to submit a photographic evidence of the violation taken by me on December 26, 2017. Shows the boat with the trailer parked in the driveway of the residence.
Board will accept.
As of this date, the residence has come into compliance. I'd like to submit an affidavit of compliance.
Board will accept. He's not, didn't have it, is it? Was this a repeat?
No, sir, not yet. That's it.
Okay.
I'll take the easy one. Based on the testimony of Code Compliance Officer Jose Silva presented to the board at this hearing and the documented evidence received by the board, I make a motion that the board find Craig Brunstein in case number 17-3235 to be guilty of violating Section 12-859, subsection 2 of the city code, but because the property was brought into compliance before the date of this hearing, no fine shall be assessed.
Second by motion by Mr. Lloyd, second by Mr. Stats. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Okay.
Let me take another sip.
I'm ready.
Okay, for unfinished business, case number 17-1607, City versus Judy Flynn for 6709 Jennifer Drive, an affidavit of noncompliance for sections 10-3B, 8102, 13B was submitted by Officer Buckland dated December 14th. Case number 17-1871, City versus Zoe L. McIlwain for property located at 402 Dunedin Avenue, an affidavit of noncompliance for sections 10-3B, 8102, 14A, and 8102, 13C, and 12-10055 was submitted by Officer Silva dated December 14th. Case number 17-2038, City versus Carolyn P. Heron for 7507 Wakula Drive, an affidavit of noncompliance for section an affidavit of compliance. I just kept writing non, I guess. So Carolyn P. Heron, that's compliance for section 12860, was submitted by Officer Silva dated December 14th. Case number 17-2440, City versus Jane B. Burns for property located at 602 Courtney Drive. The expiration of compliance is tonight at midnight. Case number 17-2613, City versus Dudley A. Black for property located at 9408 Hidden Ridge Place. Expiration of compliance is tonight at midnight. Case number 17-2737, City versus Betty J. Owens for 505 Brentwood Drive. Expiration is tonight. There's partial compliance. An affidavit of compliance for sections 81022, 81021, 2291, and 8102-18A was submitted by Officer Silva dated December 24th, 2017. Case number 17-2746, City versus James Stevens and Glenn Johnson for 104 Holland Avenue. Expiration of compliance is tonight at midnight. Case number 17-2830, City versus Resi SFR Sub LLC for property located at 605 West River Drive. Expiration of compliance is tonight at midnight.
What, on the partial, which code came into compliance?
For Betty Owens.
Yeah,
I think everything but the 8-10213K, 8102 subsection 14A are the only two.
The hot and cold water supply section, sanitary facilities required, city garbage and service required, and the sanitation shared area, which was a unmanicured vine on the residence.
Nice job.
thank you. Okay,
Okay, on the liens list, other board action. So it is just affidavits of continuing noncompliance. So when you're ready, I will read all of those.
go,
Go?
go.
I will go. Case number 050557B, City versus Jeffrey L. Rhodes, Vernica L. Rhodes, 708 Grand Circle. Case number 080292, City versus Christopher York, 7604 Leon Avenue. Case number 121424, City versus Stella M. Hunley Harrison, 9603 Overlook Drive. Case number 145858, City versus Melissa A. Gazzola, Trustee, 13203 Sanctuary Cove Drive, Unit 304. Case number 151689, City versus Ayman Osman and Asma Alzine, 12415 North 59th Street. Case number 152210, repeat, City versus Michael S. Rice and Diane M. Rice, 511 Rolling View Drive. Case number 152510, City versus Coy Lee Berry Jr., 114 North 52nd Street. Case number 152858, City versus Craig Brunstein, 418 Ferncliff Avenue. Case number 160257, City versus Natalie Anderson, 105 Deer Park Avenue. Case number 160300, City versus Stella M. Hunley Harrison, 9603 Overlook Drive. Case number 160491, City versus Richard D. Warren and Deborah L. Warren, 108 Mission Hills Avenue. Case number 160561, City versus Estate of James Edward Hinkle, 7504 Gadsden Drive. Case number 161752, City versus Craig Brunstein, 418 Ferncliff Avenue. Case number 162397, City versus Dudley Black, 9408 Hidden Ridge Place. Case number 170403, City versus J.H. and Betty Morris, 12902 North 53rd Street. Case number 170469, City versus Nathan A. Meyer, 107 South Greenfield Avenue. Case number 170570, City versus Milford v. Collins, 146 North 52nd Avenue. Case number 171137, City versus Shah Jahan Properties, LLC, 12635 North 56th Street. Case number 171519, City versus Elizabeth Graham and Sharon B. Callahan, 10317 North 53rd Street. Case number 171592, City versus Timothy L. Madison, 5301 Rainbow Drive. Case number 171667, City versus Berkeley Capital, LLC, 511 Carolyn Street. Case number 171669, City versus Resi SFR Sub, LLC, 605 West River Drive. And that is all of the non-compliance affidavits.
Thank you. 2 months ago, I think I asked a question about if these people get notified that their fines are accruing, and has anything developed?
I have an answer.
Good.
That, I do have that letter. That letter used to be sent out. I talked with our former city attorney, found out that we can just go ahead and restart sending that letter. No issue that causes us just not send it. So I already have them all ready. The envelopes are right here, so they're all being mailed a letter tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
Because otherwise, they don't watch our live TV, so they don't really know how bad it's
I
getting.
know that some of the addresses do come back returned, and if they do, we'll check the address. But they will be mailed a letter stating what their fine is now.
Okay. Thank you. Any new business? We have one item.
It's actually for the city attorney. In the previous city attorney, I had asked a question a couple months back about the outstanding liens, about when they did the title searches on them. They really didn't know, so I was wondering, is it maybe advantageous for the city to do one at the beginning of this year to see if anything's changed, ownership, title hands? Because there's 14 of them on here that are not homesteaded. So maybe that'll give us a ray of light on some of them, or. And again, I know the city has to approve it. I'm just suggesting they used to do it in the past, I guess.
We can certainly try to look them up. Generally, cities end up relying on what it shows in the property appraiser's records as being the owner. For us to actually do title work on it, then we would probably end up having to pay somebody.
I think they outsourced it before.
Yeah.
The previous, I don't remember how they did it because we never saw it. And that's what I was asking, just because it probably hasn't been done in a long time. And again, I know the city needs to approve or whatever they got to do. I just kind of, when I was looking through, I go, there's 14 of them that aren't homesteaded. Now, they may have enormous mortgages or something else. I don't know. So it was just a thought to throw out there.
But we can certainly try to follow up on the ones that are not homesteaded, because those would be the ones we could foreclose on.
There you go. You say it better than I did.
Tom, Mr. Barone, are you going to
Yes.
talk about dogs?
Yes, no, I'm not. Tom Barone, Code Director of Temple Terrace. I won't drag this out because I know everybody wants to go home, but I just want to update you with 104 Mission Hills. If anybody has driven by there, they notice that the walls are down.
Yes, beautiful.
Building inspector and I sat down with the owner, and we requested that they remove the structure, whatever was left, to remove it. And then this way, they could start fresh with a new structure, whatever they're gonna build. So I know some of the neighbors will be a little happy about that. Some will just see, let's see what happens the next year or so. So also, 9301 Roland Ridge, that lien has been approved by city council. I just want to thank the board. I know it's came back to you a few times, but I just want to say thank you.
And-
505 Brentwood Drive, that was a squatter case that we had. Good work by Jose and myself. And Tico, they cut the power at the utility pole, and that's the reason why the squatters get out of there. So it's a good reason to get out of there,
It
because no
is.
electricity, so.
Yeah, it got cold, too.
And that's about it. The dog case, I will just tell you, in the 10 years I've been here, I've only had 3 dog cases that I've heard. I never presented one. So those are really kind of like, not new to us, but we haven't mastered how to present the case yet. And this is going to be something that needs to be looked at. But based on, there's a few questions that need to be answered. I think the evidence by Officer Buckland's just witnessing the violation, I think, one, that's good enough itself. As far as its form, the reason why the form is in place is because we're not around 24/7. So the police are called 2 o'clock in the morning, they're the ones that prepare that form. So it needs to be looked at again, but you have to really listen to the testimony of the witnesses and the complainants and determine whether there's enough evidence for guilt or not. That's the first job. You need to prove whether there's enough evidence. And then as far as the fine, that's the part where we need to work that out. How do you determine whether the property is in compliance? That needs to be worked out. So I just wanted to say thank you for your job tonight. It was a very difficult job, but thank you.
I just want to ask one thing.
Sure.
You all right with me doing only the 2 weeks?
I think that was the
Because
appropriate.
that's not normal for us, but I know given it's got to be testimony from him to
Right.
just go out and see it. I don't want him to have to go by there for 30, we don't want to be paying him to go by there for 30 days.
That's correct.
And listen for the dog. So
I
that
think-
broke from tradition or norms.
I think Officer Buckland and I will, if we don't get no complaints within the next 2 weeks, I think our job is to put the property in compliance.
Well, I think,
I didn't want to also jump up from the seat because you weren't requesting me to come up. So I didn't want to interfere with Officer Buckland's testimony, nor the testimony from the witnesses. But, so nobody really asked me to come up, so that's why I didn't.
well, I appreciate, because it's good. It got new legs tonight, and I think that's a good thing, a new understanding, at least by
Right.
me. because we've never heard about the form before in
Okay.
either of the two dog cases that we had.
The
And
one,
this one,
oh, I'm sorry, the one on Overlook Drive, the officers came here?
yes,
Okay, I
Right.
think the form was
and that
filled
was
out.
important.
That wasn't my case, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think there was one filled out.
But this form that is out there it starts with the residents, the people that are unhappy with it, that call the police.
Or call code
And they fill
enforcement
the
and
form.
complain about it. Or
Or-
they're gonna call us and complain about the dog.
But then they fill out the form and get 2 signatures, and then it's presented to the police, and they come back to us? You
Yeah.
guys come back to us?
Yeah, well, they actually, police records send it to us, and then we get the case, and then we look at the case to make sure there's 2 signatures, and then if we still get another complaint, then we follow up and take it to the code board.
Right, but the initiation is by the resident with the police.
That's correct, that's one way. The other way is if we get a phone call,
Right.
and we're around during the day, and we can listen to that dog, like Officer Buckland did, that's good enough.
This ordinance may sound confusing, and maybe it isn't perfect as far as how you follow up on it, but in my experience, it seems to be a better ordinance than others I have seen. In some cities, a police officer or a code enforcement officer has to witness themselves this violation, and there is no participation really by the citizens to initiate it. They can certainly come in as witnesses and substantiate and say, yes, I heard this too. But here, it doesn't necessarily rely on a police officer coming there and witnessing the barking themselves, because in my personal experience of neighbors with dogs, as soon as the police drive up, dog is quiet. Here, you don't have to wait for that to happen. 2 citizens can sign this form, and that initiates a code enforcement case.
And one good thing is we have a chance, if it happens again, it's a repeat violation. Whether one complaint by the police or we witness it, they could be fined up to $500. For a repeat violation, they could be fined up to $500.
And that's in the code
That's
book?
on the cover sheet of your notice
Yeah.
of repeat violation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yes, that is. One,
In any way we can get clarity for you guys especially, is there a limit? I mean, I don't need to know now, we're dogged out tonight, but
I
I'm
understand.
just saying for future reference, I don't know if the city has a limit or not, or.
We've been looking while we were sitting here and can't seem to find one. So if there isn't one and you think there should be one, that would be something to talk to your council member about.
yeah, I think there is one in there, and I think it's
I'm out of the
3.
dog business.
In
I've never seen
many
that.
cities do have them. They put a limit and say, at the point where you reach this many dogs, you are now running a kennel.
Right, a
And then kennels are not permitted in, say, a residential zone.
That would save Mr. Buckland a lot of trips if we had.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Dog whisperer.
There you go. No, that's perfect.
I didn't know if you were eating lunch or doing computer work.
I saw you out
Again,
there, I
I-
thought you were having lunch.
I just want to say, again, I apologize to the board and everybody for being late today. And I wasn't here last month, but were the pictures last month as well?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
You think it's a great
Awesome,
idea?
hats off.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
It is.
I've got a question regarding 605 West River Drive.
The two,
The poor
the two
ladies that
two
rent that
tenants.
house that had the issue with the roof and the
Electrical.
electrical, has any of that been resolved in any fashion at all?
no,
today, or
no,
nothing?
no.
I feel so sorry for them.
Again, they have a choice, the problem with that is, and they have the choice to leave if they choose to. And honestly, if I had a landlord like that, I would want to pack up my bags and leave. So,
Hopefully they followed the advice they got last time,
I hope so too.
paying the court rather than paying the landlord or whatever, so.
I have to reach out to her tomorrow to inspect the electrical, whether it's in compliance or not, so I'll find out.
I feel sorry for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else?
No, please wrap it up.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion for adjournment.
Adjourned.